The fire is low tonight, and the wind has come down off the ridge with teeth in it. There is close to 3 feet of snow packed against the north wall of this shelter, and it creaks when the cold leans on it. I have a tin cup near the coals, with the last of something warm in it, and I am watching the steam get torn sideways the moment it leaves the rim. The dark out past the tree line is the kind that presses on a man, patient, like it has all winter to wait. The spruce stand black against a sky gone the color of old iron, and every branch is bent down heavy with white. Winter came into this valley 3 weeks back, and it has not once loosened its grip. Now here is a thing that has been sitting wrong with me for a long time. I did everything a man is supposed to do, and it did not save the ones it should have saved. I had the meat, I had the fire, I had the shelter, and still the country took men who had all three. It is like priming a pump with your whole heart and pulling the handle and getting nothing but the dry rattle of air. Something was missing that no full meat pole could fix. Something nobody had thought to warn them about. I am going to tell you about a thing that has killed more good trappers than the wolves ever dreamed of killing. More than the bears. More than the ice going out from under a man on a river he trusted. The wolves get all the stories and all the fear, and the wolves are near enough to innocent next to this quiet thing I am about to lay out for you. This quiet thing walked into camps that were warm and full, and it walked back out alone. I know how backward that sounds, so stay with me a while. This thing will not fill you the way you think it fills you. It will not warm you through the long teeth of a February night. It will not hold your body together when the country decides to test how bad you want to live. What it will do is lie to you. It will sit warm in your belly and whisper that you are fed and taken care of. And that whisper is the cruelest lie the wilderness ever taught a man to tell himself. It is a promise made by a thing that cannot keep it. Nobody teaches this anymore, and that is the whole sorrow of it. Nobody sits a young man down and warns him, the way the old hands once got warned. The knowing has gone quiet, plain forgotten, buried under easier answers. And there are men who did well, who did straight to the bank off of you believing the exact opposite of what I am about to tell you. I am not going to name them yet, but you keep them in the back of your mind. The fix for it costs you nothing at all, not one coin. It is free as the snow piling up outside this door. And here is the bitter part, the part that ought to sting. It is the very thing most folks scrape off and throw into the dirt. It is the part a modern man trims away and tosses in the bin without a second thought. It is the piece walked past, poured out, given to the dogs, treated like waste. I will not name it just yet, because if I hand it to you too soon, you will not feel the weight of it. Keep listening, because once you see this, you will never look at a full meat pole the same way again. You will never trim a carcass the same way. You will never pour that off again. Now let me tell you who I am, so you know why I would spend a cold night on this. I have run a trap line up in high country where the nearest living soul was 2 days' walk and a frozen river standing between us. I have wintered alone in a shelter not much bigger than this one, with nothing but my own breath and the fire for company. I have gone whole strings of days, catching nothing, checking empty sets in a wind that wanted my fingers. I have skinned marten with hands I could barely feel, and I have gone to sleep hungry more nights than I care to count. I have felt the country get quiet around me in a way that lets you know it is watching. I know the smell of a fire when the wood runs low. I know the particular ache that comes into a man when the meat runs thin. This kind of knowing does not come from anybody telling you. It comes from needing it so bad that your body learns it and never lets it go. It gets driven into you like a stake into frozen ground. The men who taught me did not get it out of any book. They could not have told you a single word that was ever written down about it. They learned it the hard way, the only way it ever truly sticks. They learned it standing over graves they dug in ground too hard to dig easy. They buried friends over this thing. And a man who has buried a friend over a mistake does not forget the shape of that mistake as long as he lives. Here is the myth, the thing most folks today have flat backward. Everybody believes that if a man has meat, a man is safe. Picture it. Picture a meat pole hung heavy with rabbit and lean deer, a whole winter of hunting stacked up in the cold air, frozen hard and ready. Picture a man looking at that pole and feeling the deep, easy calm of a fellow who knows he will not go hungry. That pole looks like life itself hanging there. It looks like every worry a man ever had about winter answered. A full pole of good red meat, and a man standing under it certain he has beaten the season. That is the picture. And that picture has put men in the ground. Now hold tight to this next part, because it is the whole spine of everything I am going to tell you tonight. Keep it in the back of your mind, no matter what else I say. A man can eat until his belly is round and tight, eat every single day, eat all the meat he can stand, and starve to death anyway. A full man starving. A man with meat coming out of his ears, wasting away like the meat was never there. I am going to show you exactly how that happens, how a thing that cannot be is. But not yet. You just hold that impossible thing right there where you can see it. The danger is not in any one thing by itself. It is built the way all the worst dangers are built, out of two forces coming together and meeting in the wrong place. It is the season and the animal meeting. It is the deep of winter and the shape of the game that winter leaves you. Come the tail end of winter, the country strips the fat off every living thing in it. The deer that were slick and heavy in the fall get run down to bone and hide. The rabbits go stringy and thin. Everything that walks or hops through late winter is burning itself down to nothing just to stay alive, same as you. And so the meat you take in that killing time is a different meat than the fat autumn meat. It is red, and it is plenty, and it is lean clear through. There is no marbling in it, no white richness, no grease under the hide. It is muscle and water and almost nothing else. That is the season and the animal, met together into one plate of food that looks like salvation and is not. Late winter is the killing time, and it does not kill mostly with cold. It kills with a full plate. It kills men who thought the having of meat was the same as the being fed. The two forces meet, and a good man walks right into the middle of them, thinking he has already won. And here is the cruel logic of the trap, the thing that makes it so deadly. The easiest food to get in that lean season is the very food that will kill you. When a man is desperate and thin and cold, he does not go looking for the hard, rich thing. He goes for what is in front of him. He eats the lean meat because the lean meat is what there is, and every mouthful feels like exactly the right thing to do. It feels like living. It tastes like living. His belly fills and his mouth is satisfied, and everything in his animal body says, "Good, yes, more. This is how you survive." He is doing the natural thing, the obvious thing, the thing that has kept men alive since the first fire. He eats more of it because he is still hungry, and being still hungry after eating tells him to eat again. And every time he does the obvious thing, he digs the hole a little deeper. He is eating himself into the grave. one honest meal at a time. The more he eats, the worse it gets. That is the trap. The trap is that the poison and the food wear the very same face. Now, here's where most folks go wrong. So lean in close, because if this next piece does not land, nothing else I tell you tonight will keep you alive. Folks believe meat is meat. They believe lean is clean and clean is good. They believe that a bellyful is a bellyful and the body will sort it out from there. All three of those are dead wrong. Lean meat all by itself is half a thing.
It is a key with no teeth cut into it, going into the lock and turning on nothing. It is a fire laid perfect with no draft to pull the air through. All fuel and no breath, sitting there cold. The body cannot run on it alone any more than a lamp can burn on a dry wick with no oil in the well. You can pour meat into a man all day long, and if it is only the lean, you are filling a bucket that has no bottom in it. The people who lived on this land 1,000 winters running knew this in their blood. They almost never died this way, and it was not luck, and it was not that the country went easy on them. They did the opposite of the modern way, by pure instinct and by everything their old ones handed down to them. They knew to go for the fat first, and the organs first, and to treat the lean red muscle as the least of the animal, near enough to the last thing you would build a meal on. They knew a lean animal in late winter was a warning, not a feast. They knew to save back the rich parts, to render them, to eat the very pieces a modern hand throws away. The ones who died in these hills were almost always the newcomers. They were the ones who came in and watched the old people hunt and thought they had learned it. They copied the doing, and they skipped the knowing. They saw a man kill a deer and eat, and they did not see which parts he ate first, or why, or what he did with the rest. They took the easy half of the lesson and left the half that keeps you breathing. And the country does not grade on effort. I am going to hand this to you in layers, the same slow way it was handed to me. Because if I dump the whole of it on you at once, it will run through you like water through a cracked gourd and hold no weight. The old hands never told it all in one breath. They made you sit with each piece. So the first layer is the one that turns your whole head around. And here it is. The thing you were chasing is not the thing that saves you. The red meat, the muscle, the part you think of when you think of eating an animal. That is not where your life is. Fat is the fuel, and lean is the lie. Say that over to yourself. Fat is the fuel, and lean is the lie. In the deep cold, your body wants to burn something slow and rich and long. Something that holds a fire through the night like a hardwood log holds coals till dawn. And lean meat is not that thing. Lean meat is kindling. It flares and it is gone, and it leaves you colder than before. The second layer is the one nearly every soul alive today gets exactly backward. And I will warn you, it carries an edge to it that a modern man feels in his gut as disgust. It is the fat and the organs and the marrow and the grease. It is the soft yellow fat along the gut and the fat around the kidneys and the rich dark liver and the heart. Today, a man looks at that and his lip curls. He calls it the nasty part. He calls it the waste. He trims it off and throws it to the dogs or buries it in the snow. And he keeps the clean red steak and feels good and modern and healthy about it. And that curl of the lip, that little flinch of disgust, is the exact reason this treasure is still lying there for the taking. Nobody fights you for it. Nobody wants it. The most precious, life-holding part of the whole animal gets left in the dirt because it does not suit a soft, modern notion of what is nice to eat. The disgust is the lock on the treasure box, and the old hands threw that lock away a long time ago. Now the third layer is the one for your hands, the practical one, the one you could do out here tonight if you had to. When you take an animal in the lean time, you do not go for the hind quarter first. You open it and you go for the fat and the organs while they are still warm and giving. You take the fat from along the back and around the kidneys, and you save every scrap of it like it was silver. You take the liver and the heart and the kidneys, and you do not leave them steaming in the snow. Then you take the long bones, the big leg bones, and you crack them open. You lay them on a stone, and you smash them with the pole of your axe until they split. And inside you find the marrow, soft and rich and gray gold. You can eat it right there, or you can render it down. And rendering is the old, slow magic of it. You take all that fat and you cut it small, and you put it in a pot over a low fire with a little water to start. And you let it melt down slow, and you stir it, and you skim off what rises. You watch a film of bright gold come up and pool across the top of that pot, shining like sun on still water. And that gold is life itself in liquid form. You keep it low because if you scorch it, you ruin it. And you want it warm and patient, somewhere near the heat that just barely keeps a thing melted and no hotter. When it is rendered clear, you pour it off and you let it set up hard and white. And now you have a food that will hold a man through anything the winter can throw. Our own ancient kin were cracking marrow bones with stones on the ground further back than you can rightly picture. Back before there was a written word anywhere on this earth. Back when the whole of human knowing was passed mouth to mouth beside fires just like this one. This is not some new trick. This is the oldest eating there is. And here comes the fourth layer, the one nobody sees coming. The one that sounds like pure madness until the moment it clicks over in your mind and you cannot unsee it. When the fat runs low and all you have left is lean, the answer is to eat less of the meat, not more. Eat less, not more. Every screaming instinct in your hungry body will fight that with everything it has. Because your body says you are starving. Eat. Eat all of it. Eat faster. But piling more lean meat into a body that has no fat to burn with it only drives you down quicker. So you eat less of the lean, and you stretch what little fat you have. And you go hungry on purpose, rather than fill yourself on the thing that is emptying you out. Eat less, not more. I know how wrong it lands. I felt it land wrong in my own belly the first time an old man told it to me, and I have since watched it prove itself true. Now circle back to what I told you to hold on to, that impossible thing, the full man starving. Here is exactly how the country does it, and I will tell it to you in the body, the way you would feel it, not in the cold words of a doctor. When you eat lean meat and only lean meat, your body has to take that red muscle apart and turn it into something it can burn. And that taking apart makes a waste, a kind of foulness that has to go somewhere. Your body pushes that waste out through the one gate it has for it, and that gate can only pass so much in a day. It is a ceiling, a hard, low roof your body cannot push past, no matter how it strains. So you keep eating lean, and the waste keeps piling up faster than the gate can pass it. And it backs up into you where it was never meant to be. Your blood itself starts to turn foul with it. And your body, getting no real fuel from all that meat, gets desperate. And a desperate body does a terrible thing. It starts to burn itself. It eats its own fat first, what little is left, and when that is gone, it turns and starts eating its own muscle, tearing you down from the inside to keep you standing up. So the more lean you eat, the more waste you make, and the more you eat yourself, and around it goes. You are fed, and you are wasting. You are full, and you are burning your own body for warmth. A full man starves. Now that feeling that comes over a man in the middle of this,
That bottomless, clawing, frantic hunger the old accounts all describe. The men gorging and never once feeling fed. I want you to understand what that is. That is not greed. That is not weakness of the will. That is not a man being a glutton. That is the body screaming one single word up through everything, over and over, louder and louder, the same word every time. Fat. The body is roaring for fat. It knows exactly what it is missing, and it cannot make you understand. So it just drives the hunger higher and higher, hoping you will stumble onto the thing it needs. The frantic eating is the body begging. It is the saddest sound in the whole country. A man eating himself to death while his own flesh cries out for the one thing he keeps throwing away. And here is the cruelest turn of the whole business. The timing of it. The season you need the fat the most is the exact season there is none of it to be found. In deep late winter, your body is burning hardest and crying loudest for fat. And that is precisely when every animal in the country has already burned its own fat down to nothing. The need and the supply cross each other, going opposite ways. When you are richest in your need, you are poorest in the thing itself. That is not an accident of the wild. That is the country setting the test on purpose, waiting to see if you knew to lay something by. That is winter asking if you were listening when the old ones talked. Now let me tell you why nobody ever told you this, and I want to be plain that it is nothing dark and nothing like a plot against you. It is quieter and sadder than that. It comes down in the end to money and to time, the way most lost things do. A piece of hard survival, knowing only stays alive for exactly as long as people truly need it to stay alive. The day people stop needing it, it starts to die, and it dies fast. And I can tell you near enough the day this one started going into the ground. It was the day the road finally pushed up into the valley. It was the day the store swung its doors open with shelves full of food a man could carry home in his arms. It was the day a fellow could buy his fat and his tallow and his lard off a shelf instead of cracking a bone on a cold rock to get it. The moment a thing can be bought, the knowing of how to make it stops getting passed down. 'Cause why would you burden a boy with hard learning he will never once have to use? And so it slipped, one generation letting go of what the last one had bled to learn. But it did not just quietly slip away. And this is the part that ought to make you sit up straight. The trade took that old truth and turned it clean upside down and sold it right back to you. They took fat, the very fuel of your life, the thing the old ones hoarded like treasure, and they stamped a word on it and made that word mean bad. They made lean into the good word, the healthy word, the word a man wears like a badge of virtue when he trims the fat off and throws it away. They sold you the trimming and told you the trimming was the prize. And I want to be fair and square with you here. There is no dark room where men plan this. It is just the plain, quiet arithmetic of what sells. There is no money in telling a man to eat the free fat off his own kill. There is a world of money in selling him the lean and a name for feeling good about it. The truth pays nobody, and the inversion pays everybody. And so the inversion is the thing that got shouted from the rooftops while the truth went quiet in the hills. Let me be straight with you now, the way I would want a man to be straight with me, because I would far rather you trust me than be impressed by me. This is not going to happen to most of you. Most of you will never once be in a spot where the only food in the whole country is lean wild meat and nothing else for weeks on end. You would need to be truly out there, living off what you kill in the deep, lean end of winter, with no fat laid by and no store to walk to and no other food of any kind. That is a narrow set of doors a man has to walk through to meet this thing. So no, it likely will not come for you in your life. But here is the turn, and you mind it well. Every single man this thing ever killed thought that exact same thing right up to the end. Every one of them was certain it was a story about somebody else. They were sure they had enough, sure they knew enough, sure the fullness in their belly was telling them the truth. They were certain, right up until the morning they could not rise. Certainty is the thing that opens the door for it. Now, I told you I would give you hard proof, and I will. One document and one man and no more. Because a thing like this does not need a pile of proof. It needs one true account. There was a booklet put out for fighting men in the time of the Second World War, a plain survival guide, meant to keep a soldier alive if he came down in wild, empty country with nothing. And that booklet carried the warning in plain words that a man must not try to live on lean meat alone, that lean meat without fat would sicken him and kill him, no matter how much of it he ate. That warning did not come out of thin air. It came down from a hard man named Vilhjalmur Stefansson, who went up into the far frozen north and lived years among the people there, eating as they ate, and who put it to the test on his own body under watching eyes when he came back south. He and another man ate nothing but meat for the better part of a year to prove out what the North had taught him. And the one time in all of it that he felt truly sick, weak, and foul and wrung out was the stretch when they fed him only the lean and held back the fat. They gave him back the fat, and within a day or so he came right again, like a lamp with the oil poured back into it. That is no legend I am handing you. That happened to a real man under real eyes, and it is written down where it can be found. So here is what you carry out of this fire tonight. 5 things, short enough to keep in your head when your hands are too cold to hold a pencil. Eat the fat first and the organs first, and treat the lean muscle as the least of the animal. Crack every big bone you take and get the marrow out, and never once leave it behind. Render your fat down while the getting is good, and set it by hard against the lean days coming. When the fat runs out and only lean is left, eat less of that meat, not more, and stretch what fat you have. And never, ever let a full belly tell you that you are safe, because a full belly is the best liar in the whole country. Now hear the real lesson under all of it, the one bigger than fat and meat and winter. Those men did not die because the country was cruel to them. The country was never cruel, and it was never kind. The country was only ever just the country, doing what it does, asking the same hard question it has always asked. They died because they were certain. They were sure they had it figured. Sure the fullness meant safety. Sure the old warnings were for lesser men than they were. And the wilderness has never once killed a humble man half as fast as it kills a sure one. The humble man doubts, and doubts keep him looking, and looking keeps him alive. So carry the whole of it small in your pocket where you can feel it. Fat is the fuel, lean is the lie. Eat the parts you were taught to throw away, and lay something rich by against the killing time. That is all of it, and it is free as the snow coming down out there in the dark right now. This knowing very nearly went into the ground with the last old hands who carried it. And I am not going to stand here by a warm fire and watch it go quiet without a fight. Now I want to hear from you, so tell me this. Did your grandparents or your old ones ever save the fat, the drippings, the marrow, the parts folks throw out now? And did they ever tell you why? And did you listen close enough to remember? Tell me what they saved and what they called it. Next time, I am going to hand you another thing that sounds backward, until it kills the man who ignores it. That the clearest, coldest, cleanest running water in the whole country is very often the water most likely to lay you flat, and the murky, still stuff can be the safer drink. Until then, tend your fire down low and steady so it lasts the night, and do not ever trust a full belly to tell you the truth.